If you are not happy, ultimately that's going to trickle down to your child. If you've not slept, not worked out, you're not enjoying the process, then it's going to be very hard to raise happy kids. My solution to all problems is working out, because the minute you physically start feeling good and aligned, body itself releases so many good hormones.
I felt very burnt out because I was reading all the books. I was following everyone on Instagram, trying to do sleep the right way, food the right way. And I just felt I need to take a step back, listen to myself, go with the flow, and make a mistake and own it.
I did 2 years of therapy straight. It's a game changer. Get financially independent. It's a huge step to your own mental clarity. A lot of women don't. They get like pocket money from their husband. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing. It's so socially accepted.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Modern Indian Parent Podcast, the podcast that is redefining parenting in Indian families. I am Rinie Gupta. I'm a pediatric sleep consultant.
And I'm Sanchita, Daswani, a pediatric nutritionist. And every week we bring you episodes to help you own your modern parenting choices, even if Nani and Dadi don't agree with them.
Are you a mom who has lost herself and her own identity after having kids? Are you constantly trying to do better for your kids and your family and still feeling like you're not doing enough? And in this endeavor of showing up as your best self for your family, for your kids, you're so burnt out that you have no energy left for yourself. Then this episode is for you.
Today, we will be having a raw and heartfelt conversation with Sonali Singh, who is the founder of Speed Smart, about how our identity changes after becoming a mother and what we can do to feel like ourselves again. She is a mom, entrepreneur, and a go-getter who has set an amazing example of how we can maintain a strong individual identity even after having a baby. I'm sure she will really inspire you to do the same, so keep watching and let's welcome Sonali. Welcome, Sonali, to the Modern Indian Parent Podcast.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
You know, Sonali, we've been in touch for a few years now,
Yeah.
and my kids have tried all your products from Feed Smart and they really loved it. I really love the fact that you've created a brand that is just looking for better alternatives so that kids don't feel deprived, but they're
Yeah.
able to enjoy the things that we grew up eating, like ketchup and,
Yeah.
Nutella and all of these butters. If you could just start off by telling our viewers a little bit more about yourself and your journey into starting Feed Smart.
So hi everyone. I'm Sonali here. So thank you. That's really warming to hear. Delhi based. I studied at Sri Ram School. I went to Warwick University in England. I did my undergrad there and then postgrad at Imperial. So my mom is an entrepreneur. She's still working. She has her own business. So I've seen a working mom literally since day zero, and that's had a major impact on me as well. And so I worked with her for about 3 years in doing sales. I wanted to figure out my own thing. And I got into food. You know, in India, we have a chef Ritu. I worked for about 5 or 6 years with her. Then I got to scale a pizza brand called Insta Pizza. So spent 6 years building that. Took it to about 15 outlets. We were at about 200 employees. Had a great time. When I was looking to start my own business, took some time to figure it out, what it would be. I realized that if I compare where the US and UK are in nutrition for kids, India's, got like 2 brands right now. We're still at the very basic of it. So that's when I started doing some research, started the creative process. Luckily for me, given my experience, I understood how to commercialize recipes. And that's how FeedSmart was born. It's a passion, impact driven business. But it did pivot quite a bit in the last 2 years. What started off as something in staples, like quickly soon to realize that that's not where the gap is. Parents are okay just having an atta that everyone eats or oils and ghees, but it's really what they want to eat that we're not getting alternatives for, which is basically ketchup, jam, chocolates, things like that. So, so I think within 6 months of sales started pivoting into that and then started seeing more traction and stickiness to the brand. So that was, I would say, the first few years of the journey.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I think as we introduced the topic earlier, before you came on, was just talking about, can mothers truly have it all? because everything that you have shared is so awe-inspiring, and sometimes it can make any mom who's listening to us maybe feel like, am I doing enough? And a big thing that a lot of mothers face is that we lose our self-identity, our being, like what were we when we didn't have kids. And that is something that a lot of us go through. So can you tell us more about, like, with respect to yourself, how do you think motherhood changes that identity of self?
Yeah, no, it fundamentally changes who you are, right? I mean, that's itself, that acceptance of it is step number one. It's not a negative change, it's actually a positive change. It's how you build out that change, right? And change makes us grow if we actually embrace it well. Because of societal norms and a lot of what I generally call cultural scaping, right? We're automatically made to feel that we're not enough when we actually are a lot more than that, and that's not really our fault. It is just the way it's been happening for so many years, right? That conditioning is so deep, it's so layered that you as an individual have to do a fair amount of work to disassociate yourself from that, right?
The society is basically expecting you that once you have kids, your life should be all around your kids. That's what they're expecting of you. And then that's inherently what we end up expecting of ourselves as well. If you take a step back in your career, if you're like with your kids all the time, then you're like praised for it. And if you yourself don't do that, that feeling of guilt seeps in.
And the choice should be yours, not theirs. A lot of women choose that they want to give up X amount of years, not even give up, that these years they want to focus on their kids. But it's your choice, and if you're okay with that, and that is the choice you made as an individual, not based on what everyone else is saying, then go for it, right?
I
100%.
think today,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I think also today the definition, of what a mom is also changing. Before it was really okay, once you're a mom, you have to stay at home, be a housewife. And now today, as a modern Indian parent, we're changing that. Like we are a mom, but being a mom also encompasses having something for ourselves in terms of work, in terms of taking care of ourselves, going to the gym and self-care. Because that shift is happening, that is where we're struggling to
yeah,
figure out, because we're still kind of living in that past of what is expected, but we want to do all these things and want to have it all of us have felt this
yeah.
mom guilt, feeling
It's real.
burnt out,
It's real.
feeling exhausted. Why do you feel so many moms today are really feeling so burnt out and tired a lot?
Yeah. No, I think it's also because we don't ask, right? I mean, like when I went through breastfeeding after 14 months, I was like, I'm done, right? Like I am exhausted. Okay. I told my husband, I said, for this to work, you got to take her on now, right? Like I need to sleep in a separate bedroom. I want to get my sleep. And you are 50% of a parent. So please, let's do this, right? He was like, yeah, let's do it, right? So he took on that burden post the breastfeeding stage, right? And that transition for, of course, Shivaya was also tough, but it's fine. She managed, right? There was a bit of crying, whatever, but we managed to do that. But ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get. I think asking is also something that we've somehow, I don't know, we feel sorry for asking. Or we're like, oh, should I not? No. Look at men, dude. They freaking ask for everything. Where's my food? Why is it not laid this way? Why is my coffee not hot? So just ask, right? I mean, not every time are you going to get the answer that you want, or you might not get your partner or your in-laws or your parents to be like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll take this on, right? But for every 10 times you ask, you'll get like three, four of them yeses. And if you make your routine and say, okay, fine, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym from this time to this time. You are with your child, you need to figure this out, right? And then you just go. You just say, toodaloo, I gave you some time and it's your turn now. That's it, right? Then if we, I don't know, we get so caught up into thinking, will he say yes, will he, they won't care, was she eating? No. They are a parent, they're a grandparent, have faith, let go. You're leaving them in really good hands. So I think that also becomes, we need to just be a bit more clear, a bit more assertive in what we want.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that the breast milk and formula, because you don't know how many parents have come to me when I work with them and they have said, we were so tired, like we can't breastfeed anymore, but they have so much guilt and shame around formula. And what I just tell them is, look, if you are enjoying the process, if you are feeling good about it, continue. But if it is taking the life and day out of you, there's a reason formula formula has been made, and it's okay to make that choice.
And I always say this, everything else is of no value until the mother is happy, not the father, not the grandparent, right? A happy mom is what fosters the smartest and the best and, emotionally open and available kids. It's literally because you're linked, to your child. So if you are not happy, ultimately that's going to trickle down to your child. So if you've not slept or you've not worked out or you're not enjoying the process, then it's going to be very hard to raise happy kids.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, that they have a lot of mirror neurons. So they mirror your emotions. And if your cup is empty, and because I have been through this where, in the beginning of this year, we lost our nanny. Not, I mean, she didn't die. We had to fire her. We had
Yes,
to
it was a very bad
it was,
case.
yeah, we had to
Oh, okay.
fire her, and it was a really bad case, and very abruptly just everything just came down on me because I'm the one with the flexible work arrangement. So I was juggling work and housework and taking care of my child, and at that point my cup was so depleted that I started to go into episodes of mom rage, right? I have actually smacked my kid on the head, which I had never done before. And I think that's exactly the thing that ended up like make me go to therapy. And then in therapy, I realized, like, I was complaining about my child, and then my therapist made me realize actually it wasn't the child. Your child has been always been the same. It's your circumstances have changed. It's your cup that is empty now. It's you who has not taken the time to replenish yourself, which is why that thing has built up inside you, and then it came out in that moment of weakness with your
Got it.
child.
Yeah,
And
100%. Makes sense.
immediately
Yeah.
after that, I was like, you said asking for help. I demanded help. I
Yeah.
said, I am out of here, right? School duty is yours. 9
Yeah.
o'clock is her drop off. I don't care. You have a 8 a.m. meeting, push it to 9 a.m. I am out of here. I'm going to the gym. I need that time away. And so quickly, my life fell back into place because I demanded that this is my time and you are a parent, do it. I don't care if my life is more flexible than yours. And this is something I feel homemakers would face so often because they don't say, I've got this meeting to go to or that meeting to go to. They are at
Yeah.
home. So then they're expected to adjust their life all around the child and everybody else's needs. And we like, you do your needs whenever you find the time. But when will they find the time?
I think it's hard, and that expectation is not just from your partner, but from if you're living with in-laws and extended family. It's deep, man. That expectation. It's a lot to manage, and so you have to. I mean, just regardless of work, but just finding some time for yourself, whether it's even a walk in the park or lunch with your friends, right? Somehow you have to demand it. Make that schedule so that everyone kind of fits in.
Sonali, just talking to you, I really, really like the attitude you have. I know it's very strong and stern because I am a little bit more like I'm trying to voice my opinion more and be stronger. And I really appreciate that you have a lot of strong feelings and you're advocating for the right thing. And, for all the viewers listening in, a mom who is struggling with motherhood, how would you say she can work to help build her identity again, feel good again, feel herself again?
Whatever. Fortunately, unfortunately, my solution to all problems is working out, right? To a large extent. Because the minute you physically start feeling good and aligned by just working out for 20 minutes and eating for your gut, not always for your tongue. There's a huge difference if you can understand, eating a bit more for your gut and your soul as opposed to just for your tongue. Just focus on that, right? For an X amount of days. Don't put any other stress on yourself. You will see the change because the body itself releases and so many good hormones, right? That the blurriness, everything will start clearing up step by step. So you're in a circumstantially not somewhere where you can emotionally be exactly who you want or step up to it, then at least try and carve out that 30-40 minutes where you work out, maybe get some breathing in, and you control your food to be more nourishing for your whole body. The rest of it will start flowing through. So, I mean, that's generally my answer, because what else can you do, right? Like when you're in a tight spot, so many strings attached to being a mom, being a wife, being a sister, being a sister-in-law, you have so many hats to wear. Just try to just let your body release the good stuff and then it will slowly give you that energy to step up and clear the brain fog that you might have.
No, I love that it's such a simple idea because I think just working out, it meets so many requirements. It's a reason for you to get out of the house. It is you're working on yourself. You're also making yourself better in physically, emotionally as well. And it doesn't take the whole day. It's a good way to start off. Like it's a, short time, which I'm sure anyone can, take over at that time. And yeah.
And eating, right? Because I mean, we are what we eat, right? A lot of people try to work on a lot of things. Like, I'm not a person who uses very expensive skincare or shampoo. I honestly feel if you eat well, if you eat wholesomely, the rest of it will fall into place, because that's what really is inside of you, right? Just by like increasing your protein or managing your fiber and your fats, having a balanced meat every day, that in itself works.
I think there's so much better way of self-care. Self-care can be in many different ways. Some people would define it as a workout, sometimes just a walk in the park, like you mentioned. Often, self-care is somehow being diminished to scrolling and Netflix and chilling, because that's where they are like. But then I don't blame them, because what's happening is that mums are kind of taking all the productive hours of their day to self serve others. So all their energy is depleted by then. So when you are saying that, like, okay, now is your time from self care from like 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., what are you going to do? What energy do you have left at that point? And then that's when we get into this endless cycle of scrolling and watching TV. And then we think, like, oh, this is our way of replenishing us, but not really. Sure, it's giving you some downtime, but it's not helping you grow. It's not really replenishing you in terms of, the way you release happy hormones and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
now you're
agree.
like, now, yeah, you're
9 to 11. I mean, even I take that time off. I watch my shows, right? You need that, and especially after, if you're running a business or if you're working, you sometimes do just need to watch like Emily in Paris back to back or something. There's absolutely no doubt. But it cannot be your only formula of self care. Let's put it that way. It's part of it.
exactly. So you're a fitness enthusiast now, but was there ever a time where you struggled to get to the gym or to do any form of a workout? Because I myself struggle with that. Like, I have these on and off periods where I'm regularly working out, and I know when I do, I feel awesome. I feel like I'm top of the world. But when I don't, I'm just like, nope, can't move this butt, don't know how to. So in moments like that, could you inspire mums like me all around on like how to get moving?
Yeah. No, I think we all go through, like, I've been working out for very long. I was always more inclined towards sports as opposed to creative thing as a child. I've also struggled a lot with my weight. I was bulimic. I had body dysmorphia through my teenage years. So for me, workout came as a solution post the whole bulimia phase. So I had to find a more long term solution, and that's when I started taking to sort of working out as part of my life. So but there have been on and off years, and there are on and off days. Like right now, the last week, I had to skip a couple of days. And the thing is that, and the best was I started going into a rut. And I realized that, you know what, I'm feeling exhausted. I haven't worked out for 2 days. I don't want to work out. And I was feeling even more tired, right? And I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's try and go. We're not going to do like crazy bench presses and leg workout, but we're just going to get our heart rate a bit going, do a nice 20-minute workout, and let's see how you feel, right? And I promise you, when you become a bit more aware of how you exactly feel, and every day doesn't have to be like a killer workout. I mean, you can literally just go and sweat out a bit and come back, right? But that in itself will change your mood. And once you start noticing the days that you choose not to work out versus the days that, okay, you know what, I'm feeling crap. It's a struggle to get to the gym, but I'm still going to go and show up and do 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I'm going to see how my mood changes. Then you'll be like, this really works. And that's what I try to tell myself, that remember last week when you didn't work out how you felt, but that other time where you did choose to go to the gym, how good you felt and your day went off better. So, that's what you have to sort of put into your mind. And if you don't want to do a killer workout, just do something easy, right? But just get out and, get it done, or do it at home, or whatever works for you. But yeah, I think fitness for me has been very much part of my life, on and off since my 20s, no doubt. Some form of it, whether it's tennis, swimming, working out, something or the other, there's always been there. Trekking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's basically it's about finding what's closest to you and what replenishes you the most. Personally, for me, I'm a very, like, my friends call me a social butterfly, but it's truly like being around my people, whether it's meeting my cousins or my friends. But like meeting people really fills me up. I work online, right? And I'm a solopreneur, as they call it. I'm not interacting with people on a daily basis. So on the weekends, if I want to feel like myself again, you got to head out. And I think that's what happens for a lot of moms. Like once you become moms and you take a step back from your work and maybe you're not going into the office all the time, maternity leave can be such an isolating period. Taking that effort and going like, baby or not, we are going out. We're going to step out of the house. We're going to get dressed up, because sometimes that itself makes you feel good. Meet people, eat good food, have a good coffee, and make time for that instead of being like, oh, kaun karega, chodo types.
I agree. That's interesting because I fell into that rut, right? Because I am a bit pedantic about my schedule and routine and waking up at a certain time and everything. So I stopped going out, right? Because I was in my routine and I was working from home, and it was pretty much the same thing, I went into that zone where I stopped going out, and I realized that that also is not healthy because again, by meeting people, by talking, so much happens. So opportunities happen. You network. You learn so much. That in itself is a mood. Like it lifts you up. So you have to. I think it's and like you said, for me, dressing up is actually the one of my top parts of going out. Is to make that effort and put on some nice clothes, do some makeup, and step out. So being social is very important. I went through that phase where I completely erased it from my life, and when I said no, I gotta get back to this. I'm getting too boring now.
Even for me, like there was a phase where literally I was working out at home, I was working at home, my kids come straight home, so and I didn't have to take them for classes, and also I was literally in my house. And in Hong Kong, Singapore, the houses are smaller, so I made that effort that I joined the gym, so that every morning I'm out, I'm getting that vitamin D, I feel that sense of community. So just doing one of those activities outside made such a big difference. And I think another thing, women, we are very complex. So one thing that really helped me is, a lot of times when I wanted to go to the gym, I was like tired, I didn't feel in the mood. Then I started learning about my cycles. And it was amazing that I realized that whenever I'm in my luteal phase, that's when I'm not in the mood to go to the gym. So instead, what I did is once we understand our body and understand that it's normal that we feel a certain way in certain periods of the month. So now during my luteal phase, instead, I will still do something. I'll go for a walk. I'll do yoga. So I think it's very empowering for us women to actually understand our bodies, accept it. And I think another big thing for me was also owning my choices and decisions and knowing that I will make mistakes. I think that took me a lot of time. So I felt very burnt out because I was reading all the books. I was following everyone on Instagram, trying to do sleep the right way, food the right way, everything. And I felt more burnt out. And I just felt I need to take a step back, listen to myself, go with the flow, and make a mistake and own it. Just own it. It's okay. I think that those two things really helped me feel less burnt out.
I'm not sure within the, like how many of you have tried this, but I really want to give a shout out to my therapist. I feel that without therapy, like that has been one of the key things in helping me reclaim my identity, like my sense of self. Because when I have my weekly meetings for my therapist, it's so great just to be able to talk about me, right? Instead of like, otherwise, whenever you're having conversations about like what my child did, what my husband did, what mommy is saying, but this is like we are focusing entirely on me, on building my confidence, or if I'm feeling like I'm stuck somewhere, trying to get out of that rut. And I think therapy has been such a powerful tool. And in my work now, when I'm working with like moms who are just freshly postpartum, and I see those signs that, they're starting to blame themselves, they're starting to fall into a routine of guilt, right? I'm just like, I think you need to talk to a therapist. In this phase, even if your partner wants to help you, they probably are not equipped to do it because they may not understand what you're going through. So, seeking external support would make you feel so much better. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of that you are not good enough or you're going wrong, which is why you need a therapist. No, this is just you trying to better yourself and reclaim that sense of self that you probably are in the either process of losing or have lost.
Yeah, I did 2 years of therapy straight. So it's a game changer. Every human being needs therapy. no matter how amazing you are, how sorted you are. Because again, this goes back to what we, started with, was that conditioning is so deep, right? That you are so attached to that conditioned self that you are not able to identify who you are. And therapists, I mean, a lot of what they do is this inner child or just, talk therapy. Somehow they do have the tools to make you understand that you feeling this guilt doesn't mean that you're not a good person or you don't have the abilities. It's actually a lot of it coming from your how you were parented, what environment were you brought up in, all of that. So yeah, therapy I would recommend to everyone. It really does help. It sorts out a lot and it releases the burden on you a lot.
Yeah.
And
And
talk
also,
therapy.
talk
Like,
therapy is
yeah, exactly.
amazing,
Yeah.
right? Like just unpacking
Yes.
everything that you have done, because it really takes you back in terms of why did you respond this way. It's probably because of some way you were conditioned back when you were a kid, and when you go through that process, then you are like, yep, this is my identity. And then you can start to see, like, okay, what is it that I want to own and accept, and what is it that I want to change. And then then you lay out a path in terms of what you want to change, and that will have an impact on everyone, on you, on your child, on your partner, at your work. Speaking of the work part, right? Because you mentioned about like how you're growing your brand and it's still growing at this point. So, Sonali, have there been instances where you've had to make a very clear choice between being at work versus being with your child or fulfilling that role of a mother? And what have you felt in those scenarios? Have you felt guilty? Or if you did, how did you like fight back that emotion?
Yeah, you have to make the choice. There's just no fooling yourself that you don't have to make a choice. You cannot do it all 100%. There are going to be caveats. There are going to be days where it's all work. There are going to be days it's all parenting. There are going to be days where it's all mushed into one. There's absolutely no doubt. Like I said, I've seen my mom work from day zero, spent a lot of time in her office or her factory. So for me, it was less daunting because I've seen that life, and I honestly have a lot of respect for my mom, and I have a really good relationship with her. She's been financially independent from day one, and I've seen how amazing it's been for her to have her own business and to be financially on her game on her own, right? So fine, there are instances that I've had to have therapy about her parenting might not have been amazing, or that she didn't cook like all her meals for me, X Y Z, right? But it's okay in the larger picture because ultimately I have a very strong relationship and have a lot of respect for her. So the way I've dealt with the mom guilt of this one, because it is real, it has set in a lot, and it brings you down. I've just told myself that listen, ultimately when Shivaya grows up, she's going to be proud. She's going to be proud her mom has built this business. She's going to be proud her mom is financially independent and has done all of this. So, and you are going to make sure that your relationship with her doesn't get hampered. But yeah, maybe I don't drop her to school every day. Maybe I don't make every meal. Maybe, I don't bathe her all the time. But I got to let go of those things in the lieu of the fact that I am doing something that makes me happy, and that's something that is going to make my daughter proud of me. This is the only way that I have found solace in choosing work over her, at multiple days, at multiple times. Yeah,
Big time.
yeah. There's no other
And you're
way,
being a
right?
role. No, it's you're a role model. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You're modeling the life, because I'm sure when she gets married, as a mom, you would want her to be independent as well. You want her to be able to have her own things and not just dedicate her life to everybody else around. So how do you start? How do you get your child to realize that's what they need to do in life? By modeling it yourself, right? If you don't show it to her, how will she learn that this is
Ultimately, the problem is that as women, we've literally been born to live as daughters or sisters, then as wives, then as mothers, and that's it. And then you actually go through this entire spectrum without actually being financially independent. Financial independence is huge. A lot of the guilt, a lot of the feeling sadness, this and all of that goes away the minute you earn your own money. Money is important. It's a stepping stone to your personal freedom, right? So there is nothing wrong in wanting to have the desire to make your own money, whatever you might want to do, right? That's why the fact that women can now become content creators post COVID is fantastic, right? Because you suddenly can make money, but just doing things at home and like, just using your skills in whatever best ways you can. So we should, even if we don't want to build a business or go like hardcore, get financially independent. It's very, very important, and it's a huge step to your own mental clarity. So I think that that previous question about, working, what would you do to battle I would say working out and also get financially well. No one says you have to make enough money to buy a house, but there's a certain high you get if you go for a 2 day holiday and pay for it yourself. Or you don't have to keep asking your husband or your son or your dad for money. Starting 18, it's much harder. So yeah, so get out there and earn some money. That in itself will uh, does a lot of things to you. It releases a lot of happy hormones too.
Even Rinie and I were discussing because we had released an episode last week about finances and about investing and all of that. And we were looking at the stats, and Rinie was telling me that the viewers were more men and very
Like
less women
76% men.
Off?
who were
And
watching that episode. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
clearly shows.
Yes.
shit.
So,
Yeah.
and that is not the stats for any of our other episodes. It's always been like 80, 90% women, just about 10% men. And suddenly for this episode, we've got 76% men. And that shows a very clear indication that women are not that interested at this point in being financially more aware and financially savvy, which is really a hole that we need to plug. Because if you think about it, we are pushing men more into what is considered the more feminine roles. We are pushing them like, you need to learn how to cook, take care of the child, take care of the house. But the other way, that push needs to come in as well. And it's great that I think at our generation, women are definitely becoming more educated. So they have the tools to make themselves financially independent because they have that education in place. But now it's a societal conditioning that needs to change once they have kids. It's not about earning money, but also how to take care of it
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, it's both, because a lot of times if you're also managing money, which is as a family, right? But do you actually have access to it? Tomorrow, do you have full freedom to go out and use it? A lot of women don't. They get like pocket money from their husband. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I can think of. But it's so socially accepted that that is how it's meant to be, and you'll just be given money through these stages. I personally am not a fan of this at all. So that's why I really and we speak about this a lot in Fierce and Fearless. To become fierce and fearless, you have to have control of the money and ability to spend it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So far as we have covered so many different things that we can do to reclaim that sense of self. And I think I just want to give a shout out to this book. I've just got this book right here. I started reading this book. It's Love Your Kids Without Losing Yourself. It is such an interesting take on mothering, right? She says like the most important thing you need to do is mother yourself, because we put in our heart and soul towards mothering our children, making sure they have the best nutrition, activity, exposure, everything. But we don't use that same care that we have towards ourselves. And the very day we start doing that, things will change, right? We will be just wholly different people. If we could like summarize today's conversation is women can't have it all, accept it. We can have it, but not all at the same time, right? Sometimes you'll be here, sometimes you'll be with your kids. But it's important to take time to kind of like reclaim your sense of self, starting with working out, because that is something that's very important. Socializing, right? Therapy, and doing anything else that really kind of fills you up with those happy hormones, not just doom scrolling at the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah. And your zone is always going to be different to another mother's zone. So whatever your scene is, whatever your jam is, figure it out. And the less you compare, the better it is, and talk to your other mothers. With Instagram, there's so much of social isolation happening. Like, how much do you actually sit down and converse with other mothers? But, having raw conversations about how you're feeling with them also really helps. Not everyone can afford a therapist. So maybe just say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go on a 10-minute binge. I just want you to listen to me and not say anything. It's important for the other person to not really have an opinion also sometimes, and you just let it all out and they're like, I got you. That's it. And you actually feel very good after that.
Yeah. Finding a tribe. That is so important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, Sonali, thank you so much for sharing all
Thank
of these
you.
things with us. So much like I have learned today from you and just watching your journey and how you've gone through it. And the most one, like that's what Sanchita said, your attitude, it's like that energy is infectious. It just
Thank
makes
you.
me, anybody who listens is just like, yep, I got to own my choices the way Sonali does.
Thank you so much.